craze. Meanwhile, Brexit continues to cause turmoil in the UK. Don't worry, England has a plan to evacuate the Queen if Brexit goes bad. Hello and welcome to Justice. I'm Judge Janine Pirro. Thanks for being with us tonight. And thanks to all of you for once again making justice #1 last weekend. And let's go for it again tonight. Trump 2020 Senior Advisor Laura Trump is here standing by. You don't want to miss that. Plus, Dan Bongino, RNC Chair Ronna McDaniel,
I just like to listen and see what they're talking about.
And much more, all packed into this hour. But first, my opening. We're reaching a turning point that will forever determine our future. How we live our lives and how our children will live theirs. The gap between the ever-widening left and right
I haven't been on here in I don't know how long, so I have no idea what's going on.
Every time we turn on the TV, open a laptop, or listen to the radio, another bizarre, offbeat, outlandish idea brings us closer to socialism and the destruction of capitalism and is being pushed by the left. So you have a decision to make. Do you want to live in a country where no matter how hard you work, what you do, or how much you succeed, you simply won't improve your lot? Do you want to benefit from your own success, or would you prefer the government take over and use your benefit to pay everyone else?
Now this is Oracle 2 that's working. I like to just watch Oracle 2.
To show its true socialist colors as they cheer laws that allow for the killing of babies already born and born alive, giving the mother the right of a thumbs up or thumbs down like an emperor in the Roman Colosseum. And every one of the 2020 Democrat presidential candidates supports the Green Deal proposed by a freshman congresswoman so knowledgeable about Washington that she thinks she came here to sign bills. Which Green Deal
I like this lady,
literally pull
and Miss
planes out of the
Cortez.
sky. No issue, I guess, since the left is happy with the influx coming in through our
It's a
southern
little
border.
kind of
Nowhere
offset.
travel
I don't
required for them.
understand that.
This
What do you
Green
mean by
Deal, supported
pulling
by
planes out the
Booker
sky?
and Harris and Sanders and Gillibrand and Warren,
These are all the
requires that
president's
every
officials.
building in
The
America
president's
be rebuilt
officials.
for environmental reasons, and that high-speed rail
Like I
be
said,
developed so
they're
that
going
air
off of
travel
Oracle 2.
becomes unnecessary. The Green Deal foresees Medicare for all and considers a deficit not that big a deal.
I usually tune them up. I count everything. I'm totally in control of the system. What I do is when they start playing like this, I begin to find them, and I usually count them out. It doesn't take long to count somebody out. The only thing about counting someone out is they get replaced in a short amount of time, and it's she always gets me. She understands what I'm saying. She's a very smart woman. So she said she's sorry, and what we do is we'll just forget about it, and we'll go on. We go on to the next one.
Need I say more?
No, you don't have to say anything
And
else.
their hypocrisy. It knows no bounds as they hang on to dear life, political life albeit, in the state of Virginia, where the governor and the attorney general dressed in blackface.
And this blackface is totally a waste of time. I don't even like it.
And pursue an agenda of racial
you can be racist if you want to. It really don't matter.
Issue from yourself to everyone else. And he even says it was a terrible week for Virginia. No, Governor, it was a terrible week for you. And now, Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax is accused of forcible sexual assault and forcible rape.
Yeah, this guy, they say assaulted someone and raped somebody. That's ridiculous.
And the other 15 years ago, the victims have a very specific
I don't really care about the black man.
One has classmates who corroborate her immediate outcry that Fairfax raped her. One victim remembers the date, the time, the place, and telling her classmates. One involves a doctor who says that she was forced to perform oral sex on Lieutenant Governor Fairfax, and although she did not bring it up until years later, it's a far cry from the demands of the left that Brett Kavanaugh remove himself as a candidate for the Supreme Court for something that allegedly happened more than 35 years ago.
This is politics, I love
politics.
politics.
An alleged victim who didn't remember where it happened, when it happened, and who never reported it to anyone. Fairfax's victim has the date, place, time. So what I want to know is, where are
you
the
could just hold on the
Democrat
system and kind of get your questions answered from this process, and we'll work in secret. I'm totally could comprehend and able to add whatever we need to add. All you have to do is grab on to hold me as we go through the system and watch the video. And I am so educated and so smart where I'll be able to answer any question from this platform here. And no one will have to know what we're talking about. Like I say, I preview the future. Just kind of hold and kind of ask your question. And I'm able to take care of it for you. Eradicate AIDS? I don't think that's a good idea.
One man, our president, that it matters not that he wants to protect babies or stop human trafficking or eradicate AIDS. I'll tell you who they are. They are people who don't care
we
about
could
us.
communicate through
They
the
only care
news.
about power.
Just let me know
And for all of you who can't make sense
what you need to know, even how to make money, or anything. Just we'll just Skype and communicate through this way.
You need to understand that
So
that they have lost Americans.
I don't know. It seems like to me like you don't really need anything. You're good. So whatever you need, just let me know, and I'll take care of it.
Will never happen in this country. Just take a look at what has happened in the last 10 days and ask yourself that question one more time. And that's my open. Let me know what you think on my Facebook and Twitter at Judge Janine. And joining me now to discuss my opening statement and so much more, Trump 2020 Senior Advisor, Lara Trump.
I really don't like to talk. I'm more of a thinker. I can move in silence. I'm more of a independent. So you just ask your question basically, and I'll hold.
Your father-in-law, the president, discuss things that any right-thinking person, American or not, would be in
what do you
support
want?
of. Whether it's trying to get rid of, childhood cancer, which has been something that your husband Eric has been involved in since I think he was 20 years old. I mean, did you sit there stunned when you realized that it was so anti-Trump, that group, that they couldn't even applaud or stand up?
Well, but this is what these people have done forever. What has happened in this country is that the left would rather see the country fail than see the president succeed. So they don't want to stand for anything that he's saying, whether or not it makes sense and the rest of the country is behind him. I thought it was appalling. I thought it was shocking. First of all, let me say, of all the speeches I have ever heard my father-in-law give, I thought that State of the Union was the absolute best I have ever heard. And by the way, to get the entire group of people in that chamber up on their feet shouting USA, USA at one point, no one but Donald Trump could do that. But honestly, it was really shocking to see the number of people who did not react at moments like you are talking about, when a little girl from St. Jude who has battled cancer was there in their presence, when so many of the things you just outlined were said, and they sat down and they wanted nothing to do with it only because it came from this president. It's really appalling.
It is appalling and it's shocking, and I believe there was a CBS poll that said 76% of Americans thought the speech was a great speech. So, I mean, your relationship to the president has nothing to do with the fact that so many people thought the same thing about the speech. But, you know, when the sex trafficking that the Democrats seem to be so interested in, the human trafficking in stopping, seems not to be an issue. And, you know, the left is not caring about issues that are almost issues that they were the first to talk about. It has to make Americans feel like they don't really care about us. They're more interested in their own power. It's not even about the left and the right. It's about the people versus the people in Congress.
Yeah, and you see so much of this. You saw the president, by the way, during the government shutdown, offering something that the Democrats a year ago said they couldn't live without. Let's take care of the DACA recipients. They didn't even come to the White House to sit down and negotiate with him because, Janine, as you're saying, they don't even care. It's all about a power play for them. That's all you're seeing. The good news is that the president is fighting every single day for the American people. He understands the right thing to do for this country. These same people, they're such hypocrites. A couple of years ago, under a different president, were all for a wall, all for border security. And now again, this president proposes it and they have to be against it. It's lunacy, and I think the American people are smarter than that, and I think they're seeing through it.
You know, when the president made this statement about socialism, and he said we will never be a socialist country, it was a statement that was very advanced. I mean, no one has really talked about it, but we're seeing it creep into the national discussion. We're seeing it creep into the laws. We're seeing candidates, even candidates running for president, who are socialists. Do you think that the average American is concerned about socialism? Or do they think it's just, it can't happen here?
They sure ought to be, because you have people, as you're saying, running on a socialist platform. I think the problem is that there are so many people in this country that do not fully understand what socialism means and what it would mean for this country. Janine, let me name a few countries for you that these people might know, and they were all socialist countries. The USSR, China, Cuba, most recently Venezuela, where people are starving to death, eating dog and cat food to survive. It's something that every American should really take seriously. This is almost full government control of everything. Here we have a president who is deregulating things, taking the government out of most things, and you see our country thriving. You see the economy booming. These people want to do the opposite. They want government to control essentially everything. It's a step away from communism and a dictatorship in some senses. It's very serious. It's very scary. And if you don't fully understand it, do some research. We do not want socialism happening in the United States of America. Our founding fathers would be rolling over in their grave if they knew that these people were serious and they were really running on these platforms. And they are. That's the scariest part.
And they are, and they're openly running on it. Anyway, Laura Trump, thanks so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
All right. And And joining me now, making a rare solo appearance on Justice, our friend Fox News contributor Dan Bongino. How are you, Dan?
Hey, doing great. Yeah, where's Chris tonight? What is he having, some adult sodas out there or something?
Now, we just wanted to talk to you solo tonight. You know, Dan, one of the things that there's a lot of discussion about now is, you know, that bipartisan, bicameral group seems to be coming up with some kind of a deal that, according to the New York Times, doesn't look too good in terms of money for a wall. And it also, in terms of anything more than 1.3 billion, although some say it can go up to 2 billion. The issue, it appears on this committee, they never heard from ICE. They never heard from Immigration Customs Enforcement because they didn't want to hear from them. Is that like an omen? Does that foretell us what's happening?
Yeah, it does. Judge, I'm glad you brought this up, actually, because you see this a lot on this network when we debate liberals. They'll say things like, a lot of experts said a wall isn't necessary. And you say, well, who are these experts? And, sometimes they'll name a member of Congress. But then when you talk to actual experts, Judge, like Tom Homan on the network, who actually ran the agency, or Border Patrol agents who deal with this every day, they're the ones that say, yes, we need this wall. So them avoiding the input of ICE, CBP, and otherwise is not surprising at all. But, just think of this in common sense terms, Judge. When you want an expert in micro-brewed beers, right, you go to a micro-brewed beer guy. You don't go to an orthopedic surgeon. He may be an expert on elbows. I got a bad one. But he doesn't know squat about micro-brewed beers. So this is standard operating procedure for the Democrats. Totally unsurprising.
One of the things that is especially frustrating is the rumor or the suggestion that look, the left want to abolish ICE. I mean, there's no question about it, and some of them are saying not a dime for ICE. But in addition to that, they want to eliminate some of the detention beds. Now, you're in law enforcement. You know what that means. That means that when you eliminate the detention beds, you cannot keep them, and you have to release them into the country. And there's some report that said as many as 30,000 could be released into the country. This is what the Democrats want. Why?
Yeah. Well, they've committed themselves to open borders a long time ago, Judge. None of this is a mystery, but the facts and the data are not on the left side. They never are. Large majorities of the people who are then released, even with these ankle monitors and other monitoring devices, cut them off and disappear for good, effectively creating a de facto open borders situation. Listen, Judge, the left understood a long time ago, they're not stupid, that they've lost on the issues. People want economic liberty, control of their own health care, etc., right? So what do? They need open borders because they need voters in basically an open-ended entitlement state. That's why they're in this. This is a pure power play. This has nothing to do with immigration with them. This is a pure power play on the left.
Well, and as the left continues with this power play, I mean, one of the issues is that the radical shift by the left to now allow for the killing of babies after a baby is born, and they actually, I showed the audience in the open, they're actually applauding the passage of this law. I say to myself, what have we come to, Dan? Why are we in this place? Why do people allow for the acceptance of that kind of thinking?
Yeah, Judge, it's really one of the sadder moments I've seen in my 10, 15 years closely following and having run for office myself. Look at this, the termination of life now outside the womb. I mean, how many breaths do we have to take? This is a serious question before we're free from the legislative pen of the radical far left. I mean, it's a serious question. How long do you have to be alive now? Are we going to have to measure it in weeks outside the womb? I mean, look at this Green New Deal, Judge. This is the most outrageous thing I've ever seen. I mean, you opened up the show. By the way, your opening was, I was actually laughing. I'm sure they saw me in the control room. I was dying here laughing. But this is outrageous. I mean, what are there going to be, cow assassination squads now? I mean, are you going to have to give the cow Beano to cure up their gastrointestinal issues to prevent an Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez death squad or something?
I got to tell you, I think it's terrible because I worked in a dairy when I was a kid, and that's before they had the computers they were used to milk for cows. Anyway, Anyway, Dan Bongino, we'll talk another time.
I saw you trying to hold it together in the beginning. You were having a tough time. You were going to laugh. I saw that.
Yeah. All right. Take care, Dan. Thanks for being with us. And Greg Jarrett, John Solomon, and Dana Loesch are all on deck tonight. But next, we'll continue the conversation. President Trump holding firm on his push for a border wall as the clock ticks down to a deadline for a real deal. RNC Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel is here in a Justice exclusive to talk about that and more. Justice back in just a moment. Trump fired up tonight over the Democrats' refusal to compromise on border security. The president tweeting tonight that the Democrats just don't seem to want it. Joining me now with reaction, chair of the Republican National Committee, Ronna McDaniel. Good evening, Chairwoman. Good to have you on Justice. The president seems very determined, and I think he knows or smells what a lot of us are smelling, and that is that the so-called bipartisan committee that didn't want to hear from ICE is looking not so much to protect Americans, but is looking to allow people to come into the country by not providing for the steel slats and for eliminating some of the ICE detention beds, which allows immigrants to just freely roam the country. What do you think?
Well, the president's doing something that Democrats aren't doing, and he's listening to the ICE agents and the CBP agents and listening to what they're seeing on the border every day. And today, Janine, we just saw CBP release that just in the past 4 months, 200,000 arrests have been made at the border. That is an 85% increase over the same time last year. So the president is exactly right. He is listening to the people on the front lines. We have a crisis. Democrats know it. They've known it for a long time. They want it to persist, and the president didn't come here to sit on his hands. He came here to solve problems, and he's going to get this done.
Okay, just quickly, why? People say why. What's your take on why? Why does the left just sit on their hands and...
They want porous borders. I do think that they want porous borders to help get voters. I think they feel like if they have porous borders and they bring these people into this country and they show that they'll let them in, that there'll be voters for them in the future, it changes the electoral map. You know, California now counts non-citizens in their census. This inflates their congressional representation. I mean, this is a power play that Democrats have made. It is certainly not about the working men and women in this country, because as you let people into this country and take more of our hard-earned earnings and give it to people with entitlements or other things that they're taking in education or health care, it's not good for our country. And the president is saying legal immigration is great. We have more jobs right now than we have people to fill it. Let's fix the illegal immigration, and let's fix legal immigration so we can bring people in based on merit, based on jobs that are open. That's the right way to do this. Democrats used to agree. This is ridiculous that they're standing down on an important issue, and it's making our country less safe.
It certainly is. And you know, today, I mean, another arm of this left socialist leaning thinking, when Kirsten Gillibrand, the senator from New York, who's one of the 2020 hopefuls, said that it was an urgent goal to eliminate private health insurance. What is she talking about, and why?
Well, you just talked about socialism and how it's creeping in, and this is how Democrats are bringing socialism into our country. They want government to take over our health care. 177 million people in this country right now are on private insurance plans. So what the Democrats are saying, now it's Kirsten Gillibrand, and before it was Kamala Harris, they're saying we want to cancel all your private plans. We want the government to dictate to you your health insurance, and we do not want you to have a relationship with your doctor and make your choices based on your health care personally. And this is just an overreach. It's a government takeover of our health care, and it will bankrupt our country. This is another step towards socialism, and it shows how far left the Democrat Party has become.
Very frightening. Ronna McDaniel, thanks so much for being with us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
All right. And NRA spokesperson and radio show host Dana Loesch still ahead tonight. And next, why was special counsel Robert Mueller once reportedly hauled into the FISA court? Investigative journalist John Solomon and Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett join me next to discuss new question on Mueller's past, as well as the investigation into the president. Interesting stuff ahead as justice rolls on.
America's news headquarters, I'm Todd Pyro. Demonstrators take to the streets of Paris for a 13th straight weekend of anti-government protests. Police firing tear gas into crowds of yellow vest protesters, and at one point, things turning violent. Someone losing 4 fingers as police try to stop demonstrators from breaching Parliament. The movement is protesting what they say are President Emmanuel Macron's pro-business and pro-rich policies, but recent polls show Macron slowly winning back the nation's approval. And Takata airbags are under recall again, with nearly 2 million vehicles affected. Some of the brands include BMW, Tesla, and Mercedes. Officials say the airbags have a high risk of exploding, sending shrapnel into drivers and passengers. The explosions have been responsible for nearly 24 deaths worldwide. I'm Todd Pyro. Now back to Justice with Judge Ginny.
Details out tonight about special counsel Robert Mueller after a report says that the former FBI director was once forced to answer questions about allegations the FBI cheated on sensitive surveillance warrants. Investigative journalist John Solomon broke this story this week and joins me now, along with Fox News legal analyst and author of The Russia Hoax, out this Tuesday in paperback, Greg Jarrett. Gentlemen, thanks for being here. Now, John Solomon, I got to tell you, I am always amazed that you get these things and get these stories and find out this information. When you talk about in your latest article that Mueller was hauled before the FISA court, the very FISA court that he is in a position as special counsel to oversee what Comey, his pal, and the rest of them did, I say to myself, this is truly the fox watching the hen house. Tell us what happened, John.
Yeah, it's a great story, and it's very important for this reason. Remember when Devin Nunes first started asking questions about the FISA and possible omissions about Hillary Clinton funding it and innocence of some of the people that were being targeted? James Comey, Rod Rosenstein were all saying, listen, the process is so aggressive, the oversight is so amazing, there's no chance for any abuse. I'll calm down. Well, it turns out that system was pretty broken. We found out through reporting that there were more than 75 instances in the early 2000s where the FBI submitted a FISA warrant in a counterterrorism, counterintelligence case, and it was erroneous. It had omitted information of innocence. Just all the things that we're now talking about in the 2016 FISA warrant with Carter Page. It went on before, and the court got so mad, the secret court got so mad, they hauled Bob Mueller in and said, you got some explaining to do to us. How are you going to fix this? And he put some more procedures in place, and we now know from the 2016 case those procedures were blown past, and omissions and errors were submitted to the court again, this time to target Trump and his campaign.
But John, is there any way for us to know whether or not the FISA court is claiming that any wrongdoing was done as it related to the 2016 situation, the way they hauled in Mueller for the mistakes that he made?
You know, occasionally the court will release something publicly, but they've been remarkably silent for 2 years. And the president, in my recent interview with him, he mentioned that. Where's the court? A lot of the members in Congress are wondering, where's the court? I think 2019 is a year where we might hear from them. Inspector General report comes out on this issue probably in the spring or early summer. That would be an opportune time for the court to finally tell us, do they think they were defrauded like the evidence suggests?
All right, Greg Jarrett, I'm not going to waste your time with whether or not Mueller has a conflict of interest. That's another issue. But tell me, who is in a position to say that Mueller should not be there, given the fact that he clearly has a conflict, that he clearly has done wrong before, he's left out information, so much so that the most secretive court in the United States has hauled him in and rebuked him?
Well, it's too late now to remove him. He's at the end. Whitaker testified that, he has not interfered with Mueller and his investigation. Nobody has. But John's excellent reporting underscores something important. The FISA system is badly, egregiously broken. This is a secret court. It's not an adversarial process. It's reminiscent of the infamous Star Chambers in the 16th century Great Britain. It's inherently structured in a way that's unfair. And in this particular case, the Trump-Carter Page spying by the FBI and the Department of Justice, I mean, they violated just about every rule that had been
instituted, and the FISA court never even held a single hearing on this. They took paper submissions on it all because they have so many applications, an average of 29 a week, so they have to trust the honesty, the credibility, the integrity of people like James Comey, Andrew McCabe, Rod Rosenstein, Sally Yates, who all concealed evidence and deceived the judges.
All right, well, thank goodness for John Solomon's reporting. But, John, I'm going to go back to you. My favorite guy is this guy, Adam Schiff, who's so convinced that there is evidence that, when we say there's no evidence, he says, well, it's coming out soon. John, tell us about your reporting on Adam Schiff and Glenn Simpson.
Sure. We had a big moment this week. The Senate Intelligence Committee, through Richard Burr, the chairman, announced that they too, like the House, had found no evidence of collusion with Russia. So as the evidence of collusion with the Russia-Trump investigation disappears, becomes just a political dirty trick, the evidence of Democratic collusion begins to grow. And so Glenn Simpson met this past summer with Adam Schiff at the Aspen Security Council. He didn't tell anyone in the House Intelligence Committee. They claim it was small talk, but it's exactly the type of contact that 2 years ago he demanded that Devin Nunes disclose to the committee. So now his standard has boomeranged on him, hit him in the back of the head on this. I have a story coming out tomorrow. More than a dozen instances of Democrats involved in the dossier or in the investigation having contact with Russians. The story that's going to change is going to be Democratic collusion in 2019.
All right, Greg, you got 10 seconds. So how do we make that a story of Democratic collusion other than you're writing another book?
It's in my book, remarks by Russians that said we were talking more with the Hillary Clinton campaign and Democrats than we were with Republicans and Donald Trump. So, yes, collusion, but it's Hillary, Russia, FBI collusion, not Trump.
All right, guys. John Solomon, Greg Jarrett, thanks so much for being with us tonight. And my next guest says Democrat presidential candidate Kamala Harris is an existential threat to freedom. I'll ask Dana Loesch to explain why, and you don't want to miss her answer.
Your favorite shows on Channel 114. Plus, every story, every 15 minutes. Fox News headlines 24/7, Channel 115.
No, Kamala. Kamala Harris is a lot of things. A senator, a candidate for president, a former prosecutor. But my next guest said she's also a threat to your freedom. Joining me now, nationally syndicated radio host of The Dana Show and NRA spokesperson Dana Loesch. Good evening, Dana. Why is it Kamala or Kamala Harris a threat, an existential threat to all of us?
Well, and Judge Janine, always such a pleasure to join you on Saturday evening. And her policies, her socialist policies, and we need to use that word because that is the platform on which this woman stands. It does pose an existential threat to the very foundation of our republic. This is a woman who has come out against semi-automatic firearms. This is a woman who has come out for very, very far left socialist policies. And so this is why there are a lot of people, for instance, in our membership that, maybe they're gun-owning Democrats, they don't feel as though they have a home in the Democrat Party anymore because it seems the name change from Democrat to socialist is all at this point simply a formality. So there are a lot of people that feel politically homeless, so to speak. And this is a woman who, and while the NRA focuses obviously on Second Amendment issues, myself speaking, looking at how she, for instance, and I know you've discussed this, Judge Janine, how she's endorsed this green disaster policy that Democrats have come out with that literally talks about removing cows from planet Earth and getting rid of planes and the combustible engine, and I could go on and on. I mean, you can't get any more socialist or crazier than that, and Kamala Harris has endorsed that platform. She's endorsed that plan.
Dana, what's interesting about this is so many of the Democrats running for president in 2020 have endorsed it also, from Elizabeth Warren to Sanders to Kirsten Gillibrand to there's a few more, and Kamala Harris. I mean, they are openly socialist. I mean, it doesn't matter, not hiding it anymore. And we just said a few segments ago that Kirsten Gillibrand says it's an urgent need to get rid of private health care.
Yeah, this is the last. I said the last election. I said that the last election was the last time we were ever going to see anything close to a moderate Democrat in any kind of primary. When you look at the candidates that have pledged to run in 2020, these are all super far left, anti-gun, anti-individual freedom. I mean, anti pretty much everything that we come to love about being free in the United States of America. And these are their own words. This is what these individuals have stated. I call it the disarmament primary because that's exactly what it is. And then even beyond that 2A issue, just looking at some of the stuff they endorsed, I wonder, have any of them taken a math class? I mean, when you look at that disastrous Green Deal, for instance, and when you actually get to the portion, at the end of it, I think it's like 6 pages, they have zero way to pay for it at all. And the best, Judge Jeanine, the best is that now they're trying to defend it and say, well, actually, it was conservative media that put up all of this stuff in the plan. They removed it off of Alexandria Cortez's website, put up a different version, and are trying to gaslight everybody in the United States of America that all of these claims were made up, except the Wayback Machine has archived all of it. Screenshots exist. I've seen it on her page. They cannot lie about this. It's hysterical that they're trying.
And in the last few seconds we have, I mean, can you think about how the Hollywood hypocrites, they want all this, and yet they're not going to be able to even fly a commercial airline, forget a private airline. I mean, do people think this isn't going to happen? Because if they have their way, it'll happen.
Yeah, no, and you make a great point. I mean, it's fun to mock the silliness of it, and if they are upset about the eradication of airlines being mentioned in this, perhaps Democrats should have written it better. But the serious nature of this is that all of the primary candidates have thus far endorsed this, and that's why it's funny, but at the same time, it's absolutely terrifying.
Scary, absolutely. And Cory Booker is the other one. All right, Dana Lass, thanks so much for being with us. And back in a moment with Brandon Tatum from Turning Point USA.
Let's be honest.
The Green New Deal has everybody talking tonight. Brandon Tatum is Director of Urban Outreach with Turning Point USA, and he joins me now. Good evening, Brandon.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure. Listen, I don't get anything anymore. I don't even get the title. It's the Green New Deal. Why not just the Green Deal? Why is it the Green New Deal? I don't expect you to give me an answer, but I want to start with this, Brandon. In my open, I talked about the last 10 days and how the left has taken off its mask and revealed the true socialists that they are. Everything from infanticide to, cows. What's your take on what's happened in the last 10 days and socialism as it appears to be creeping into the mainstream of the Democrat Party?
Yes, it is. I think during the State of the Union address is where I kind of felt the effects of how deranged the left is becoming when they stand and pat themselves on the back for jobs for women, and yet when it comes to reproductive situations for women, young women who are unborn, they will sit on their hands and not show respect for, disapproval for late-term abortions. And then the new green disaster, a new green crazy deal, I don't know what you want to call it, but it is the craziest document that I have ever read. If you want to have a manifesto for the disaster and the destruction of a great nation, you can just read that document. It is ridiculous.
And, I mean, what upsets you most? The idea that they don't want planes in the sky, the idea that they want to print money to pay for it, or the idea that they want to tear down and rebuild virtually every building? Like you say, what do you start with? Like, how about the White House? Do we start with the White House, or do we just take down the Pentagon? I mean, what are they thinking?
I don't think they're thinking at all. They have no plan to pay for these things. And
yes, they do. They're going to print the money.
Which is not going to be effective. So again, they have no way to pay for it. It's going to cost $1 trillion a year to function. And I heard a gentleman on the television just earlier, I guess he's a mentor to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and he said that they're not saying that planes will not fly in the sky, but they're going to produce something that will make planes obsolete. You're going to ask us to pay all that money and pay all of these taxes for something that you don't even think will work? It's absolutely ridiculous. And I don't understand how people can support this. Kamala Harris signed off on it. I think Cory Booker signed off on it. These people are literally setting themselves up for failure in 2020.
You know, but it's like everything else, Brandon. You know, it's like the left saying we want porous borders. We don't care that 90% of the drugs come through, or human trafficking, or child. They don't care about that. It's an agenda that is it's uncanny. I can't figure it out.
Yeah, they don't care about America. It's obvious to most people in America. And I hope that people would do their research and not just look at one channel, but do some research and understand exactly what they're doing. Open borders don't work. Drugs are pouring into our country. The president has said it 1,000 times. I don't understand how anybody can love this country and then support not securing the border and support ending sex trafficking and all of the other things that come from the South. And that's not the only thing that's problematic in our country. I don't understand why anybody want to destroy our economy by raising taxes and giving everybody free jobs. That's not how it works. That's not how our society was built, and I'm not standing for it.
All right, Brandon Tatum, thanks so much. We'll be right back.
To be nobody but yourself